Hi there! Welcome to the Legally Blind Geek YouTube channel. My name is Mike. On this channel we focus on overcoming low vision challenges. Let me ask you a question. Are you or do you know a senior that has issues navigating their iPhone? You just have problems seeing the screen or figuring out how to get from one place to another? In this video we're going to cover 5 hacks that helps overcome low vision problems. Whether it's seeing the screen, gestures, spoken content, screen readers, larger text, bold text, all these things that will help get the most out of their iPhone and use it like a pro. So those of you that like and use the iPad, just follow along. Same thing's going to apply. Whether you're legally blind or just suffering from age-related vision loss, regardless of your vision problem, or your challenge maybe we should say, there is a hack that's going to help you, and we're going to try to cover that today. Okay? Sound good? You might want to consider subscribing if you haven't. If you like the content, please give us a thumbs up. Really appreciate it. So let's get started. What do you say? Okay, let's get straight into setting up the iPhone and explore a few hacks that make it easier for somebody with a visual impairment, be they legally blind like myself that uses VoiceOver, or someone that is, coming to terms with some low vision because of age-related vision loss. So we're going to take a look at, let's just look at display and brightness first, because that seems to be a pretty common need that folks that have, trouble seeing the screen and accessing things need to change. So let's go in, check out the screen recording here. We're going to walk through setting up display and brightness. How's that?
Display brightness button. Appearance heading.
Okay, we basically have at the top of the list of things to do, we have 2 options. We can choose the light mode.
Light button. Selected light.
Which works pretty good for others. Myself, I prefer the dark mode, so we'll just go ahead and go back to dark mode.
Dark button. Selected dark.
But it's just that easy. And then after that, we can
Automatic switch button off.
choose to have automatic on or off. It'll switch back and forth. It'll pick out which one of the brightness levels or the display is best for the time of day, the amount of sun, the amount of light that you've got. I just rather do it manually, so I just leave auto turned off. You may want to turn it on.
Text size button.
Now, text size, that's another pretty good place to start. Let's go ahead and take a look at that.
Apps that support dynamic type will adjust to your preferred reading size below.
So when we set this up using the slider down here,
100
we
adjustable.
can make the text smaller. With VoiceOver turned on, I just select it and then swipe from the top of the screen down with one finger. And that makes the screen,
45 adjustable.
that makes the text on the screen smaller. And if I go from the bottom to the top, it makes it larger.
100.
And if I turn VoiceOver off, I'll use my accessibility shortcut here.
Alert. Accessibility selected. VoiceOver
Then I can
off.
just grab the slider and I can move it back and forth with my finger. And just sliding back and forth across the slider will make it smaller and larger. Turn VoiceOver back on.
VoiceOver on. Settings. Display brightness 100 adjustable. 100 adjustable.
So let's back out of that.
Display brightness.
And after text size,
Text size button.
we can turn on or turn off bold text.
Bold text switch button off.
And that does exactly what it sounds like. It makes the text bold. Now, word to the wise, when you elect to turn bold text on, as soon as you turn that on, the phone will have to do a restart so that it can readjust to the bold text across the apps on the phone. So I'm just going to leave that turned off, but you can turn it on and play around with the text size, combination of the text size and the bold text to make it easier for you to see what's going on the screen.
Brightness, heading. Screen brightness, 55, adjustable.
And this is where you can make the screen brighter or dimmer. And another location where you can do that is if you have the control center set up.
Control center. Airplane
You can also
mode. Brightness.
make the screen brighter
95,
here
85,
or
7,
dim.
55.
You can turn the volume up
40,
and down
30,
as well.
25, 35, 40, 55, 65.
And just as you can see, I've got my screen recording on.
Settings. Text size. Screen brightness. True tone. Switch button. Off.
True tone, I think Apple's description probably does it more justice than I could do.
Automatically adapt iPhone display based on ambient lighting conditions to make colors appear consistent in different environments. Night shift. 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. Button.
Night shift, you can go in, you can customize that.
Night shift automatically shifts the colors of your display to the warmer end of the color spectrum after dark. This may help you get a better night's sleep.
And this does help out if you are one of those night owls and you're out when it's dark outside. The warmer tones kind of has the tendency to make it easier on your eye strain. You can turn this on or off, and then you can go in, you can set it on, set it up, customize the times. You can either
Scheduled. Switch button on.
schedule, turn it on.
From 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. Button.
And I've got a custom time set on here. You can adjust this here.
Manually enable until tomorrow. Switch button. Off. Color temperature. Heading. Display color temperature. Normal. 50. Adjustable. Display color temperature. Normal.
And you
50.
can adjust
Adjustable.
the temperature here, make it warmer or cooler. Basically, it's going to give it a warmer tone or more of a blue tone. Makes it easier to see for some folks.
Display brightness. Back button. Night shift. 12 a.m. to 6. Auto lock. 5 minutes. Button.
Auto lock, if you are going to use the always on display,
30 seconds.
you can select the time frame here that it will stay on once it's not being used. Once you have this time selected, it'll count off so many seconds or whatever, and then it'll just go back into, a dim setting. It'll always be on kind of faintly, but it'll go from being really bright where you can see it, where you get your brightness set at, to dark, dim, so you can just barely see a shadow of it. Back out of here.
30 seconds. Display brightness. Back. Auto lock. 5 minutes. Raise to wake. Switch button. Off.
If you want to be able to pick up your phone and it wake up, turn this on. I prefer not to because I'm always picking my phone up and moving it around. And with VoiceOver on, it never shuts up because as soon as the screen lights up or comes on, it will read what is on the screen or the last thing that you are using that's still highlighted.
Always on display. On. Button.
Here's where you turn your always on display on or off.
Always on display dims the lock screen while keeping Always on display dims the lock screen while keeping information like time, widgets, and notifications visible using minimal power. Show wallpaper. Switch button. Off. Show notifications. Switch button. On.
I like to have the notifications on the lock screen, so I keep this turned on.
Always on display. Switch button. On.
And I have always on display turned on. I don't really worry too much about the battery life. I get plenty of battery life out of my phone.
When always on display is off, your screen will turn off when iPhone is locked. When always on display is off, your...
So there you go. Those are probably the most important settings for your brightness and display to help make it easier to see the screen and be able to use it to get your full potential out of your iPhone.
Display brightness. Always on display. On. Always on display dims the lock screen while display heading. Display zoom. Default button. Choose a view for iPhone. Vertical scroll. Choose a view for display zoom. Default
Okay, let's talk about the display zoom. Basically, you have two different settings. You have one that's larger text, and then you have another one that's default.
Larger text. Selected. Default.
With the default on, I use default because I use VoiceOver, so I just touch the screen and I can hear what that icon is and what it represents. If you want to make it larger, you can make it larger.
Larger text. Selected. Larger text.
And it makes the text larger, but in so doing, it kind of abbreviates some of the text. So they'll be larger, easier to see. take a look at zoom. We're going to go into my iPhone. We're going to turn on zoom. I'm going to show you a couple different ways of doing that. And just a quick heads up, zoom doesn't work very well with VoiceOver turned on, because when VoiceOver turned on, the gestures change. And it's a little bit finicky. So bear with me as we go into this. I'm going to turn VoiceOver off so that it functions like it should. So anybody that's got a need for the zoom feature can use it without having VoiceOver turned on, and then we'll kind of play around with that. Sound like a good idea? So let's go ahead, and I'm gonna go into my phone and open it up and see what we can find.
2:56 p.m. Settings, accessibility, back button.
Okay, so we went into accessibility, then we scrolled down until we found zoom and opened up zoom, and this is what we find. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to touch the screen so that VoiceOver will read the directions as far as the gestures. 3-finger, double tap, 1 finger, moving it around, that kind of thing. Make sense? Okay, here we go.
Double tap 3 fingers to zoom. Zoom magnifies the entire screen. Double tap 3 fingers to zoom. Drag 3 fingers to move around the screen. Double tap 3 fingers and drag to change zoom.
Okay. So let's go ahead and I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page and show you where the slider is, where you adjust the maximum zoom level. So I guess I'll go ahead and turn VoiceOver off.
Alert, accessibility selected. VoiceOver off.
So to make it easier for me to use and stuff like that, I'll be turning VoiceOver on and off just so I know where I'm at. Okay? As we lose our vision, I'm legally blind. Sometimes even with this text set as large as it can be set, if I don't have my magnifier, I still can't see to read it, which hopefully with the camera here, the overhead shot, you can see it just fine, if you got any vision at all, or maybe I should say your visual acuity is better than mine. So let's turn this on back on again.
VoiceOver on, settings, accessibility, back button.
And that's my accessibility shortcut. We'll talk about that a little bit here later. Show you how to turn that on, set it up, that kind of thing. But here is the slider. And we
Maximum
can
zoom level, 3.2 times, adjustable.
With VoiceOver turned on, I just select it with 1 finger and then swipe up and down to move it.
4.6.7.9.2 times, 8.66.5.4.3.0 to 1.8 times.
But with VoiceOver turned off,
alert, access selected, VoiceOver off.
The gestures just work like you would normally expect them to. I touch that little slider, I can move it up, and I can move it down, if I can find it. So that adjusts the maximum magnification when zoom is turned on. Now, there's a couple different ways we can turn zoom on. You saw at the top of the page up here, there's this toggle. I can turn that on, if I can find it. There we go. And then if I take the 3 fingers and double tap, that turns it off. The 3 fingers, double tap will turn it back on. And then I can take 1 finger and I can move it up and down the screen. I can take 3 fingers and slide it this way or slide it that way to move it, the margins from right to left. And then scroll up and down using the 1 finger. Make sense? That's how it works. Now, I'll leave follow focus on because that way it just kind of focuses as it goes. And smart typing, I'm not going to get into that. Where's the zoom window at? Keyboard shortcut, I'm not going to get into that. The zoom, I'm not going to turn that on. And let's see what this is here. Yeah. Now here I can select it where it's the full screen or just the window. I don't really like the window all that much because I have the text so large that it's better for me if I just leave the full window or the full screen where it zooms in on the whole screen, not just that little bitty window. If you want it, this is how you set that up, where you go to change that. See the difference? That's the whole screen, so this way I can move it this way, that way. With just that, I touch it, and then it's kind of moves everything a little bit differently. There we go. Sometimes it's just hard for me to find it. Make sense? Now, if I showed you how we could do it this way. Whoops. So I'm going to go ahead and back down here. Turn it on and off right here, or I can use the accessibility shortcut key, which is on my 14 Pro Max. There's a side button on the side here, and on some of the older phones like the 7 Plus, you get the old home button down here, right here. They both work the same way. They both do the same thing. It's just a little bit different way of going about it on different devices. But what I'll do is I'll punch my side button here 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And then I've got the accessibility shortcut set up with VoiceOver.
VoiceOver on. Settings. Accessibility. Back alert. Accessibility shortcuts.
Magnifier and zoom. So it's just another way we can go in and we can set up these little hacks if you want to, these little shortcuts. And we'll talk about setting this up in a little bit, and we'll also cover the magnifier. Okay, so pretty much part, we'll cancel that out.
Button. Settings.
This is where you find, I'll go ahead and back out here.
Accessibility.
So zoom is right here.
Off. Button.
It's directly below VoiceOver.
VoiceOver on. Button. Vision. Personalize accessibility. Settings. Back button. Settings. Heading.
And this is
camera button.
Where'd I go?
Battery. General. Button. Accessibility button.
Accessibility on settings. Go to accessibility. Click on that.
Accessibility. Heading.
Open it up.
Personalized vision. Heading. VoiceOver on. Zoom off.
There
button.
you go. Turn it on. Turn it off. Make sense? I'd love to hear from you in the comment section. What do you think? Is this something that you would use, you do use, or you got some pointers for us? Please use the comment section down below. I'd really appreciate hearing from you. Hope you found this information useful. Now, before we get into the setting up of the accessibility shortcuts for the iPhone, and it works on the iPad as well, we're going to do a little something different. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to do a screen recording on my phone and walk through all of the setting up the accessibility shortcuts on the iPhone 14 Pro Max running the current version of iOS, which is, what is it, 18 something, 18.1 or something, but it's the latest and greatest that was available as of today. And, well, having said that, let's just get straight into the nuts and bolts and the down and dirty and the challenges and pitfalls of setting up the accessibility features using iPhone with VoiceOver on, VoiceOver off, that kind of stuff, with the different accessibility features that are available to anyone that has an iPhone. What do you say? Here we go. Okay, after opening up settings and scrolling down until we find accessibility, we're going to one finger touch it to select it.
Accessibility button.
It speaks accessibility with VoiceOver turned on. I'm going to double tap with one finger to open.
Accessibility heading.
And then to find where we set up the accessibility shortcut, we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom of this list of accessibility features.
Physical and motor heading. Rows 15 to 18 of rows 22 to 25 of rows 27 to 30 of 34. Accessibility shortcut. Ask button.
And we'll find the area where we can go in and set up accessibility shortcut.
Configure and then triple click the side button to toggle accessibility features on or off.
And as we talked about earlier, on my 14 Pro Max, the side button, I press that 3 times and it will access the accessibility shortcut menu. On older phones, say the iPhone 7 Plus and that generation of phones that had the home button on the very bottom center of the screen or the bottom center of the frame of the phone, you push that button 3 times to access the accessibility shortcut. Now, there is a list of items that you can put in that accessibility shortcut, and you can also reorder them.
Triple click the side button for heading. Apple Watch mirroring. Action. Reorder Apple Watch mirroring button. Draggable. Actions available.
So this is where if you had this set up, you could reorder. You could put it at the top, the bottom, move it up, move it down.
Move down. Reorder Apple Watch mirror. Activate. Move down. Activate. Move down. Activate. Default.
And basically what I'm doing there is I just touch that with one finger, then I slide up from the bottom down to the top to select either activate, move it up, or move it down. And where that comes into play is, let's go ahead and access the accessibility shortcut.
Alert. Accessibility shortcuts.
What I have available
Selected.
is
VoiceOver button. Magnifier button.
Magnifier
Zoom button.
and Zoom. Now, if I wanted to change the order of these, I would just go into that accessibility shortcut and with that little slider, move it up or move it down to reorder these. Make sense? So if I go ahead and cancel that. Well, before I do that, why don't we take this opportunity to go ahead and open up the Magnifier app and show you what the Magnifier app does look like.
Magnifier, viewfinder, image. Actions available.
So this could actually be the last hack that we cover in this video. And going into the accessibility shortcuts list of menu and scrolling down until we find Magnifier. That's the easiest way to do this, or you can just ask Siri to open up Magnifier. And there are all sorts of different settings in here that you can play
Selected.
with.
Zoom 50. Actions available.
So we've got Zoom selected,
50,
this little slider
40,
here.
30, 20, 10, 0, 0.
It's just like any other slider. I select it with one finger and I swipe up to go
10,
up.
20, 30, 40, 50.
In magnification, and I swipe from the top and down to go to back out of it or
40,
lower the zoom.
30, 20, 10.
Now with VoiceOver turned off, all you would have to do is grab that slider, and I'll turn VoiceOver off here. Just maybe we'll see how that works.
Alert. Accessibility short. Selected. VoiceOver off.
With VoiceOver off, I can grab the slider with my finger and just slide it in or slide it out. And then there's some other settings in here that we could go in and we could play around with. But let's put it this way. If you have any questions about the magnifier, it could be its own little video. So if you have the need for that, you've got some questions about it, post it in the comment section, and I'll be sure and cover that with another video. Hey, thanks so much for sticking around and watching the video to the end. If you'd like to, I've got some affiliate links in the description box. Helps the channel out if you go to Amazon, buy something, I'll make a few pennies. I really do appreciate that. And as always, if you like this content, give us a thumbs up, maybe 2 thumbs up. Consider subscribing. If you have any questions or concerns or anything you'd like to share at all, that's what the comment section is down below, please. And oh, by the way, over here somewhere, you can subscribe to the channel and YouTube will suggest a video to you that they think is appropriate for you. Thank you. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.